Hey guys, how's it going? Today we are going to be talking about housing Ackies together and sort of my experience with that. I mentioned a few times that it didn't go so well for me, and I know a lot of people try to house Ackies together, but in reality it really doesn't benefit them, and the worst case scenarios can be pretty deadly. So I'm going to give my experience, and sort of you can maybe decide based off of that. Before continuing on with this video, check that lower right hand corner, hit that subscription button, and turn on the bell notification so you know when I post more Ackie updates. So basically what happened is a little over a year ago, I ended up getting Dell at a Reptile Expo. I did some more research into housing multiple Ackies, so I ended up getting Asus from the same breeder. They're actually part of the same clutch. And I thought that would pan out since I read that, or I did some research and I read that, having them from the same clutch gives it a little bit more of a chance that they'll get along. I don't know how true that is, but, I bought into it. Anyway, time went on and they started displaying more and more dominance behavior. Neither of them would give up. Basically, one would try to be dominant and then the other would try to be dominant, and I think that's what led to a bad relationship between the two. In terms of dominance behavior, what I mean is that when they're trying to be dominant, one will lay on top of the other, sort of like my hand is right now, and kind of pin them. They'll also push against their neck a little bit. That's just a typical Ackie dominance behavior. Usually one should eventually give up, but they wouldn't give up, neither of them. So I think that's kind of what made it deadly. So things continued down the line. Both of them sort of had enough, I guess. I think Asus made the first move, and he started death rolling Dell's arm. I was there at the time. I saw it. I started freaking out. There was blood everywhere. Dell was not happy. So me and my girlfriend just started calling all the exotic animal hospitals in the area, right? We eventually found one that was like an hour and a half away. I jumped in the car with them. I drove down there. And I didn't really know the extent of the damage at that point, so I was freaking out. I was pretty nervous because I didn't know if Dell was going to lose her arm. I didn't know what was going on, or the extent of that damage. So I got there, and basically all that happened was Dell just lost her pinky finger, which, I was pretty upset about. I don't want any of my animals to suffer at all. What was really problematic was giving her medicine. Number one, trying to get Akkie's mouth open to give them oral medicine is very hard. So that was difficult. And number two, I had to actually insert a needle into her arm, I think, every other day, and put some medicine into her bloodstream. This was rather difficult because her arms were very tiny, and it really kind of numbed out her arm a little bit. I think it would hit some nerves sometimes, and that would just lead to some numbness. Are you climbing up my ear? Anyway, I was afraid that the medicine alone was gonna damage her arm more. Just putting the needle in, I'm not a vet. I don't really know a lot about their anatomy or how to give them medicine to their bloodstream. Basically what I was told is just put the needle until you sort of see some blood coming out and you hit the bloodstream. Basically that, and that's what I did, but I would notice that sometimes after I did it, her arm would be kind of acting weird, if that makes sense. It just didn't look like she had a lot of functioning. So I was really worried about nerve damage, and I talked to the vet about it. She said I possibly maybe hit a nerve. So I got really concerned that I was actually going to damage it further. And I didn't want, I already felt bad enough. I didn't want to harm her more. And I think that she does have a couple problems with her fingers, not having total control. Sometimes I see them crossed, and I just think she doesn't realize that. So I do think some of that numbness lingered. But basically what I'm saying is I probably shouldn't have done that in the first place. Now I know there are people out there who successfully house Ackies together. But I don't know, is it really worth the downsides? That's sort of my question. If I had to do it all again, I don't think I would house them together. I still feel really bad that, she lost her finger. I'll never sort of forgive myself for that just because I want to be the best owner I can. And it was just an overall mess, just having to figure out how to forward these vet bills because I had to go back multiple times for checkups and stuff like that. Or just, every day I would think about, is she okay? You never know what they're thinking or if this is going to hurt them long term. Will she be able to climb? There's also the possibility of necrosis, I think it's called. Basically, you know, her finger was dead, but it could possibly continue up her arm, so I had to keep an eye on that, and I was worried about that because that could lead to some problems. I think she's climbing on top of my head right now. Oh, their nails, man. But basically, oh my god, Dell, what are you doing? Okay, so you could see here that she could definitely still climb. She just dug her nails into my freaking neck. So in conclusion, it was a very stressful time, not only probably for her because she lost a finger, but just as an owner, you know, it's just something you don't want to undergo. It's definitely not worth trying to house them together in my mind, to undergo all that stress and have to figure out their medicine and stuff like that. And that's not even including that I needed to build this whole second enclosure basically matching what this was for Asus. That was very stressful because at the time I was at an apartment, and well, for one, I didn't stain it outside with polyurethane. I did that inside. So basically, you know, I probably shaved off 5 years for me and my girlfriend's life. But you know, it was just stressful putting that together. With the whole apartment was just filled with just wood that was cut up, lumber that was cut up, and it just was not fun. So I just don't recommend it. If you're gonna do it though, I think the best way to do it is, like what I said in my care guide, having a second enclosure always ready. And remember, there really isn't any benefit housing them together. Like, they don't benefit from them. Yes, as a keeper, you might experience more of their behavior and kind of get more of an idea of Ackie life, but they don't really enjoy being housed together, you know, that just stresses them out. And one of the benefits for captivity for them is, you know, they don't have to worry about fighting and, you know, figuring out food and stuff like that. So you're really just giving more stress of the wild. And usually you're not gonna build an enclosure for them that's big enough for them to, you know, get away where they feel comfortable. So overall, I don't find it worth it. I know there's people who are gonna say differently, and that's fine. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, you know, take into account what I said here today and figure out if that's really worth a shot for you. Anyway, guys, that's sort of my story. I hope that this was sort of interesting and informative. I kind of just wanted to give some context about my experience with that, since I know a lot of people try to house Ackies together. Check that lower right-hand corner. Subscribe if you enjoyed. She is, oh, I thought she was going up in my sleep. But subscribe if you enjoyed. Like, leave a comment. That's all, guys. Hit that bell notification. Bye.